guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. What I was saying is it's been a while since I made a video with the truck, since I put out that first one years ago. I'll go over everything about the truck, my experience with it, and what's my future plans with it moving forward. So right now it is early November 2023. We got the truck back in June of 2018 with about I think it was about between 20 and 30,000 miles on it. And speaking of that mileage, I actually just checked for the recall for the water pump with the dealer quite recently, and it was replaced the same month in June before I bought it. I mean, right before it. So right now, as she sits, it's got about 94,000 miles on it. I'll turn the camera around and show you, and just keep on talking anything that comes to my mind. The problems I have with the truck, the experiences with I had, good and bad, ugly, I'm going to tell you. So here we go. Stay tuned. Okay guys, so one thing I forgot to mention in these clips that are coming up is that when I had the depth sensor replaced at the dealership, they noticed that there was a transmission leak. And I've been under there before. I noticed it was slightly damp. It wasn't actually leaking to the ground. Wasn't really sure. I checked the fluid and always stayed full. But it was in there. They said it was definitely leaking. I see this is a common problem on these trucks, that the gasket kind of goes on the transmission pan. So they pulled it down, changed out the filter, put new fluid in there while they did that depth sensor. Okay, so like I was saying, you got about 94,000 miles on it. I'll go over what issues I've had with it so far. First issue that I've kind of noticed on the truck is that the tires are wearing a lot on the outsides. Had a line a few different times, brought it to his shop, and it seems to be going good so far, but it ate through like a set or two of tires. So that was an issue. But basically every time I do oil change, which is once a year, or about 10,000 miles, which moving forward I'm going to probably do it twice a year now, like in the spring and the fall around this time before the winter. So roughly every 5,000 to 7,000 miles, to try to keep the engine oil cleaner, have it lasting longer. Because my plan is actually, well, let me continue on with this part. So got these tires on here now for about a year. One other thing came to mind when looking at the tire here, the lug nuts, some of them have stripped out over the years, so the studs have been okay really, but some of the lug nuts have not held up, so I've had to replace a few of them over the years. And once I do that, it pretty much holds on there, but I figure I share that as well. And a half, so I probably have about 20,000 on them. I rotate them front to back every time I do work on the truck, which is like once a year with the oil changes and fuel filters. That was the first issue I've had. Then I pretty much do the fuel filters and oil every once a year, every 10,000 miles. I only drive 10 to 15,000 miles per year. It's really about all I do. To replace both batteries, and these are AutoZone Duralast ones, a couple of years ago now. I have it written down in a book. I log everything that's done to the truck. I recently changed the brake fluid. I pretty much sucked out the whole tank and then pumped it through every single brake leader and all the calibers pretty recently. Done that. The major issues I've had with it that's really a pain in the neck is I had a sensor go bad on a DEF. I can pull out my book here and show you. I have the part number. So here's kind of my log right here. So I had a new DEF sensor, part number 68299062AA. You can see right there, early this year, February 2023. Had that issue. It was in the middle of winter. I didn't want to mess with it, so I actually brought it to the dealer. They replaced that sensor on the DEF. No problems with that since. And then I had another sensor go, which is, if you can see it down here, see that heat shield back there? It's right off the turbo there. That sensor went bad to me back in the spring, late spring, and sometime in June. So I took that out, replaced it with a AutoZone replacement part there. Pretty much almost identical as OEM, but the sensor is a little bit different. That actually goes into the exhaust there. It's slightly different. So I replaced that, and actually recently went bad again. So I had replaced it maybe about a month ago. It went bad again. I got the code for it. I pulled it out. There was a decent amount of soot in there. I don't know if the problem was the soot, because the soot just wiped right off, or the sensor was bad, because I hear quality control issues with those sensors. So replace that again, clear the code. I'm hoping I don't have a problem again, because you know, with these codes, they'll shut down the truck. Eventually just stop being able to drive it, or only put it to like 5 miles per hour. But you know, with the acid treatment on these Cummins, pretty much the exhaust with all the DEF system always causes a lot of problems. My daily driver and my work truck, so I really rely on this thing. But that's the issues I pretty much have. It's been a pain in the neck, is those sensors, and that one going bad again. I recently found out about the grid heater issue. I do hear all the time, because it does get cold here in Jersey, but it doesn't get you know, really below zero much. I did the grid heater check, which is this cable that goes straight down to that nut right there, if you can see it. I wiggled it. It's not moving at all. It's rock solid. But I think at some point I'm either going to disconnect it over here. If I get a code, I actually have a code reader coming. I'm going to clear it. And if I could keep running like that, I'll probably do that. And sometime maybe in the spring, the next year or two, whatever it is, when I get some extra money laying around, I will do the grid heater delete and get maybe the Banks one, so I could have it still be able to warm up somewhat with that glow plug in there, and so on. So that's the things that have been going on so far. Done your typical maintenance so far, you know, oil changes, fuel filters. Again, I recently did the brake fluid. I do the air filter every, I don't know, year or two, every 10, 20,000 miles, something like that. I just pull it out, take a look at it, see if I need to replace it. I haven't done the coolant yet. As I was saying before briefly, that the water pump was actually replaced right around 20, 30,000. So it's only got around 70-something thousand miles on the water pump. And everyone knows, really don't know when that water pump's gonna go, but I'm gonna probably leave it on here as long as I can until I see a leak with it. But once I hit about 100,000 on it, which will really take me another probably 2 years or so to get 100,000 on that water pump. So I'm probably leave it for at least another 2 years and decide what I want to do from there. And that's really it for that part. So as far as the truck goes, it's been very, very reliable. Always starts up. Never really any issues with it besides those sensors. So it is, the truck is a 2017 2500 6.7 diesel. And again, it has about 94,000 on it. Give you once around here of the truck. Have a wrap on there if I have business that's starting to fail, but I'll replace it or just take it off at some point. This got scratched with some shopping cart somewhere, because I do take this to run errands and I do everything with it. So I do drive around the city and the highway, kind of a mix. Got hit with a shopping cart at some point, and then this got bent out. Don't let people borrow your truck, because they might break it. So that's what happened with that. A little bit of rust on the bed liner here, where those parts. This is a factory OEM bed liner. So far my experience is really good, but I have a fishing boat over here actually that I put in here and sliding it out, took it over, and it's a little bit of rust there. So at some point I'll scrape that off and just re-spray paint or put a new piece of bed liner there, spray it on, whatever it is. Got my toolbox in here. I recently did the rear diff fluid, and let me tell you guys from my experience, you want to make sure you change out the gasket. Was planning just to reuse the gasket, so I pulled off the whole diff cover, reused the OEM gasket, and just torqued it down by hand, not by spec, and it leaked a tiny bit. Not enough to drip, but it was showing damp under there, so I had to take it off only about a week ago or so and get a new gasket. I got a Felt Pro from Napa, put that on there, and I torqued the bolts down to 15 foot-pounds where I could get at them. Only about 2 of them or 3 that I can't get to with the torque wrench, because all that sway bars and this and that in the way. So basically I torqued down to 15 foot-pounds to put blue Loctite and everything, and so far I haven't seen any leaks. It's been really good. The factory calls for about 30 foot-pounds. If you guys read online anywhere, some guys are shearing them off, and that's the last thing I want to do here. I'm a daily driver that I need every day, that I'm kind of DIYing all the work. So I did 15 foot-pounds. Most guys are doing 20, 25. If I see a leak or whatever, I can always tighten it up and go from there. But so far, 15 foot-pounds is definitely higher than you could go by hand with a ratchet. So far, so good. I'm just keeping an eye on it and going from there. I do tow with it, and I tow my business utility trailer right here with it. I mean, the trailer unloaded is still by itself, it's like 2,500 pounds. So by the time I have everything in there, I'm probably around 3,500, maybe more. Can't tell you exactly on the weight on that, but it's a decent amount of weight. This thing's only a 2-wheel drive, not a 4-wheel drive, it's just a 2-wheel drive, and it can tow a 5th wheel. They actually have it, if you could see. Put plugs in here. They had the guy that had it before me, one owner, he was having it set up for a 5th wheel. So this thing can actually tow up to about 20,000 pounds. So it tow a lot. Only downside is when it does snow here in Jersey, I'm freaking spinning all over the place. So 4-wheel drive comes in handy, but then you got a lot more moving parts, more maintenance, you know, more things to break. But that is what she looks like so far. Everything has been really good with the truck so far. Again, I'm going to do the grid heater delete at some point in the future. I'm just going to check it every few months, make sure that thing is not wiggling. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Banks one or whatever it is. I don't really care about getting any performance gains. I just don't want there to be a problem. I really want to keep as stock as I can, maybe do intake at some point, but really I'm happy with how this truck runs. So in the future, come the spring, I'm probably going to dump the coolant, change out the power steering fluid, and at that point all the fluids have been done. Then moving forward, my plan is to do the oil twice a year, leave the filter in there, do the oil filter once a year, fuel filters once a year, and then do the differential fluid every 3 years or so, which would be about 30 to 40,000 miles for me. Because when I did drain the diff fluid at 94K, it really wasn't that dirty. I mean, it wasn't brand new looking, but it wasn't jet black like you would see here from the engine oil. So I'll just do that more often, so I get more longevity out of that rear diff. And just keep up with the fluids more often moving forward, so I can have this thing last for a long time. Because my plan is to, right now, just over 5.5 years roughly that I've had it. My plan when I got the truck is I'm gonna hold on to it for like 10 years. That's the plan moving forward. Who knows what's gonna happen, but my plan is to hold on to it for at least another 5 years. At that point, I probably will only have maybe 150,000 on it, maybe 175, somewhere around there. At that point, I'll decide either just keep it for a work truck and then get like another vehicle for the family, or whatnot. I'm not really sure. It really depends how much rust I have on it. Because we do get snow here in Jersey and salt, and I try to rinse it off when I can, but I really can't do it all the time. You could take a look under here right now. There's a little bit of rust on the frame, but nothing crazy, just on the welds there. So like anytime there's a big snowstorm and I have a hose that I could access that's not frozen, I'll hose it down and make sure everything is good to go. So pretty rust free. One other thing I'm gonna do is a DEF injector. I just got to get a gasket because I could reuse the old one, but everyone's saying that because it's right under the passenger side here on the exhaust, the DEF injector is replace a little sticker gasket. So I'm gonna get a new gasket and new bolts for the exhaust. I took a look on there, they're pretty rusted out. So I don't want them to snap when I retighten them in, or if I can even get them out to begin with, we'll see. But I'm gonna do that because one guy, if you guys watch him, Marion Blair, I think his name is, he really makes some great videos. He's down in Louisiana. He's got a 4th gen like I do here. And he's saying every 75,000, 100,000 is to take off the DEF injector, clean out, put a new gasket in, put it in there. Because I do not want any problems with that. Because I hear other guys online have videos that they have problems around 100 to 150 that it gets clogged or they just need a new injector. So I just want to keep up with the maintenance a little bit more so moving forward and get as much life as I can out of this truck. But other than that, the normal maintenance and a few things going wrong, this truck is extremely well. So I think that's all I can go over right now that comes to my mind. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I don't really make much videos for this channel, but I hope it helps you if you look at one of these trucks in the future, or you have a truck just like mine, you want to know what can you expect, you know. So I went over everything. I don't think there's much else to go over. I mean, really, if you want to just sum it up, the biggest problems you're going to have with these trucks is the after treatment, you know, the whole DEF system, and then the potential for failure in blowing the motor really is that grid heater, which is very rare, but it does happen. So that's the biggest things that could go wrong with this truck. You keep up with the maintenance, this thing will run for a really long time. So that is what we got, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Have a good one.